Desire is something that springs forth from your life experience. It's not even something that you have to think about. It's something that takes place on a subconscious and a conscious level. When desire springs forth within us, we desire to see that manifest physically. The conscious creation and subsequent physical manifestation of whatever it is that we want is a big part of physical life. The process of manifestation takes place on both a non-physical and a physical level. In other words, the process of manifestation happens on a mental level, happens on an emotional level, happens on an energetic level, happens on what we would call a vibrational level. But it also happens on a physical level, and this is the level that most people completely leave out or forget. In other words, people forget that action is such a huge part of manifestation. They also forget that action is a big part of what they came to this physical life to participate in. Something very important to understand about life is that it doesn't matter how much information you have if you don't apply it. It doesn't matter how much mental and emotional processing you do if you never make a change. It doesn't matter how much you want something if you never take action towards what you want. So many people fall into this trap of using their spiritual practice, and yes, this includes self-help and self-development techniques or practices, in order to separate from their physical life, to withdraw from it, even to completely escape from it, rather than to use their spiritual practice or self-development practice in order to enhance their physical life. So many people fall into the trap of learning more and more and more and doing more and more mental and emotional spiritual processes. They imagine that what they want will somehow spontaneously appear on their doorstep, that it will require no change, movement, or action on their part. But this erases one of the main purposes for being incarnated into a physical body in the first place. Unless you have resistance to things like changing, to things like moving, to things like taking action, those things are part of what feels so joyful about life itself. It's part of the thrill of being physically manifested. By learning things, by becoming more aware, by figuring yourself out on an emotional and mental level, by visualizing so as to bring yourself into alignment vibrationally with whatever it is that you're wanting. You are making it so that you create such a strong point of attraction that all people, places, things, circumstances, events, and resources that are perfectly in alignment with you attaining that thing that you desire are coming to you. But you still have to take action. Another way of saying this is that you need to allow the more non-physical things that you do to compel you towards taking action in the direction of what you're wanting. It doesn't matter if you know that you need exercise and that exercise is critical for your physical, mental, and emotional health if you keep coming up with excuses to not actually take action and exercise. It doesn't matter if you want a romantic relationship and keep doing visualizations in order to manifest one if you commit all your action to working from home and watching TV series in your apartment alone. It doesn't matter if you do all the shadow work in the world to realize that your parents acted and still act in a way that's counterproductive to your progression if you keep on living with them in their home. It doesn't matter if you want to be financially free and learn all about finances and know that you have to start to save up and spend your money on things that make you money if you keep piling up stuff you don't need in your house and living from paycheck to paycheck. It doesn't matter if you read every book there is to read and watch every tutorial there is to watch on surfing if you never go out into the ocean, rent a surfboard, and paddle out to get on an actual wave. Your physical actions must align with what you are wanting in order for manifestation to be assisted by you instead of prevented by you. If you are unwilling to actually do something, like change, move, or take action, you're making it much harder for the universe to line you up with or allow you to converge with those people, places, circumstances, events, and resources that essentially bring what you are wanting into a state of physical fruition. Not only that, if you are unwilling to actually do something, whether it's change or move or take some action, you're making it very hard for the universe to use you if you are a necessary ingredient in somebody else's manifestation of their desire. Action, or let's call it inspired action, is naturally meant to arise as a byproduct of changing your perception, of gaining new information. But sometimes this does not occur, and what a lot of people don't know is, if this does not occur, it makes your life worse, not better. It's a common assumption that most people make, that if you do enough mental and emotional processing, or if you just know everything you can possibly know, your life will somehow spontaneously get better. But here's something I never want you to forget. If you plan on not making a change, not moving, and not taking action, in fact, committing yourself to things like awareness, to learning more, to doing mental or emotional processing but making no change as a result of it, your life will get much worse than it was before. In other words, if you plan on not taking action, you would actually do better off just positively focusing on what is. For example, imagine that there's a woman who's in an abusive relationship. If she gains more awareness, she will become aware of just how abusive her environment is. If she starts to heal on a mental and emotional level, she will become more and more aware of what her needs actually are. If she focuses on what she wants, i.e. a safe relationship, the distance between where she is and what she wants will get bigger. If she takes no physical action to change the relationship or to exit it in search of a new one, being in it and staying the same will get more and more painful. She will feel more and more unsafe, more and more deprived of her needs, and emotionally worse and worse because the gap between herself and what she's wanting will grow and grow until she reaches a point of total desperation. It is critical to understand that if you do not take actual physical action based off of the things you learn, the awareness you gain, and emotional and mental healing that you do, your life will get worse, not better. All the forces that be will be pulling you in the direction of what you want, like an unassailable current, and you will be turned upstream against that current. That's not going to go very well for you. This is what suffering is all about. Suffering is what happens when we have already desired something more, something else, and yet for one reason or another we are holding ourselves in what is. We are staying in the way it is, in the unwanted. When we do this, we are preventing our own expansion. And when we do this, we are essentially inviting the escalation of our pain. Because when we're holding ourselves apart from our own personal expansion, the universe can only escalate. It can only take that heater and turn up the heat. Hearing all of this, it may benefit you to think about what you want and to ask yourself this question. What is in the way of me taking action? One of the main reasons that people don't take action is because they're terrified of making a change. This is very easily seen when we know we need to make a change, and we may even know exactly what change we need to make, and yet we just can't make ourselves do it. If you think it would benefit you to understand this more in depth, watch my video titled The Real Reason Why People Don't Change. One common excuse that I hear people giving for why they're not taking action or not making a change is because they just don't know what action to take. When you're caught in this loop, oftentimes what you're doing is looking for a right action. So it's important to understand that there's no one right action to take. In other words, it's not like the universe is sitting here testing you to make sure whether or not you know what the exact right action is to take. People often think there is some miracle action that will bring about what they want, and they have to know what that miracle action is before taking any action. This is not true. No such thing exists. There is no magic way, even though every way ends up inevitably being magic. What there is steps. And anyone who brought about anything through action must take those steps that are unique to their own path of achievement. All this being said, don't sit there and be passive. Don't be passive to finding out what action steps you could potentially take. This means consult people who might have a better idea of action steps you might take. This also means look at the people who already have manifested whatever it is that you are currently wanting. And look back and try to identify, or even ask them, what those steps were that they took to get to where they are today. Become an expert on the people who already have what you want. And should you ever come up against an action step that no person has ever taken before, don't be afraid to be a pioneer. There always has to be somebody who takes a step first, and maybe that person is meant to be you. No matter what resistance stands in the way of you taking action, do whatever it takes to resolve that resistance. Because if you don't, your life will be starved of results. To wait for what you want to happen to you is a passive and powerless way to exist. It is not how you meant to come here and exist. Knowledge is power, but that power is useless if you don't translate it to action. Motivation is useless unless you take action on it. This means act on what you come to know. Act to bring about what you want. After all, in the physical, knowledge without application is incomplete. Just like visualization without action is incomplete. It's like an in-breath without an out-breath. Have a good week. If you liked this video, be sure to share it, like it, and also subscribe to my channel so you can see more content like this. But I want to personally thank you for taking the initiative and having the bravery to step into the space of awareness, not only for yourself, but for the benefit of those around you.